He has his master's black belt. He has his master's black belt from our buddies at Morsteam and the Ohio State University. So in addition to that master's, he has 2 black belt certifications, one from ASQ, which is the American Society for Quality, and one from Virginia Commonwealth University. He's also a certified quality engineer, certified quality manager, organizational excellence from ASQ. He's got a world of knowledge and a world of experience. So currently he's a senior engineering manager, seeing detector packaging engineering, reliability engineering, tooling, automation engineering, advanced manufacturing engineering, and camera assembly engineering for infrared systems at FLIR. So FLIR stands for forward-looking infrared, but they probably dropped the words and are going with the acronym. That seems to be a trendy corporate thing to do these days. So he's also piloting a Lean Six Sigma program for his production technicians, engineering technicians, and engineers, going from white belt to black belt. And with all that, Sebastian, you got a lot going on. Thanks for being here.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you for introducing me. Appreciate that.
Yeah, sure. So Sebastian, like, tell us a little bit about, there was a lot of words there, and I'm not sure, the majority of our audience here are business students. I don't know if they kind of understand all that. I don't know if I understand all that. So maybe you can talk about your current position and what's your relationship to Lean.
Yeah. So my company now is my company. The company I work for is now called Teledyne FLIR, since we got acquired not too long ago by another company. They're based in Thousand Oaks, actually. So Teledyne FLIR, they just kept the other name. FLIR is a company that's been doing for many, many years infrared products. Our material is being used in defense groups, right? So, tracking missiles or to defend an aircraft. It's also used for search and rescue, or in this particular case, firefighting is very common to do infrared technology, because you can see through smoke, so you can see where the fires are. So we make that kind of products. We do our products as well as used for industrial applications. You can see gas leaking from pipes. You can see water damage. So it has a bunch of applications. It's not just making rockets and things like that, but they are using defense very commonly. They're using space applications, so cameras are going to satellites, or spacecraft are using infrared material to align themselves when they go dock into the space station. That material is typically a semiconductor device, and in 2 major groups. One, you need to attach a cooler to it to lower the operational temperature. The other one doesn't need one, but it works in different temperatures and is a much cheaper product. Many of our sensors are going into cell phones now, not here in the States, but in other places. So there are a bunch of brands that have our sensors. So I presume sometime soon you can buy a cell phone that has an infrared camera. So that's pretty cool. We are a big player worldwide for this material, a leading organization right here, right, very close to where you guys are.
Yeah.
We make the materials here. We design the hardware, we do software, and we manufacture most of it here. And in that regard, because we have a lot of manufacturing, we have, as you can expect, a lot of issues. And I've been doing Lean Six Sigma for many, many years, a big proponent. And I'll go lucky enough that I can push that program to my organization. And like your professor Eric was saying, I'm piloting a program here to do some online training, and that's because my company has a contract with a different organization that has a bunch of online training for all kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. So folks that want to do the program, they do the online training. It's around 40 hours, and eventually they need to do 2 projects to be certified as green belt. And for those folks that are doing yellow belt, then we do something much simpler than that. They do 1 project, typically in the A3 approach. So it's very, very simple.
So Sebastian, it's kind of interesting that you're trying to develop, sort of this in-house training program. So we've got all these students here, learning about, Lean Six Sigma in college, right? Or in sort of a university setting. So so if they kind of got hired into your company, I'm kind of concerned, about that sort of thing. Like, does this sort of mesh with the things you're like, do you want people that have already been trained, or do you like to teach them from scratch, or what's your sort of philosophy or approach on that?
So my approach is, if somebody has a training already and they know the subject, then it has much higher chance to get hired than somebody that doesn't have the training. For me, I recognize how powerful that process is, the benefits that we get. So if somebody comes knowing how to do it, I benefit. So in my mind, it's much better if they already come trained. It certainly makes a difference when people start working, when they know how to work.
I think too, and it's been my experience, I had to see, Lean and Six Sigma presented, in different ways from different angles and in different situations. And I'm always learning, about, some nuances and some different ways to apply and make it happening. And I imagine bringing in people that have different Lean backgrounds can even sort of help, in building your program, right?
Yes, absolutely. So we recently hired a director that came from an automotive company that also here in town, and they do high volume, very high volume, and very, very fast. So he brought his approach from the Lean part, right, with regards of how to prepare for establishing production lines. So doing pre-exercises that I just didn't do that much, because typically the productions that I had to deal with, there were no little things that you can just move around when you're making rockets, when I was in aerospace, or when you're making semiconductor devices. Those are monuments. Those are things that you just put in place and you can't just move around. But in this other approach is much more flexible, so we were able to learn about that and just push that forward as well to modify how we make the product. They were also working on making some of the areas much more agile by changing everything from kind of hard code, if you want to establish workbenches, to freeform cards. So they are custom made cards. They're all in wheels and they're all made to size. Mm-hmm. So we're gaining a lot of extra space in the production side from just changing the table that we're using.
It's nice to sort of see those sort of simple changes, making such a difference, right?
Huge difference. Huge.
So Sebastian, one of the things I kind of remembered this as I was reading your introduction to the students and stuff. So you're kind of, very much a lifelong learner, right? And you've kind of got these multiple certifications and things. Could you maybe sort of describe a little bit about your Lean journey and tell us a little bit, like, why all these certifications? Is this?
Yeah. So generally speaking, you also realize that because you finish school, whether it's high school or college, you're not done learning. It's really, really, you want to keep doing that. Now, you can do it because you're going to get paid more money, which is typically the more certifications you have, the more valuable you are. Or you can do it because you enjoy it. So I'll do it for both. I do work for money, so there are many correlations that the more education you have, the more money you get. So from my perspective, I was lucky enough that the majority of the training I did was funded by the companies I was working in, which I strongly suggest that if you can take advantage of that, you should do it. And started in the semiconductor world as a process engineer. Six Sigma started in semiconductor. Hopefully you guys learned some of that history in Motorola in the 80s. So it was quite entrenched, that methodology. So I started with that, and I kind of felt an affinity to it. I felt kind of the simplicity of the process. It sounded really natural to me. So I kind of continued that on my own, right? So on my own, doesn't mean that I just paid or did everything on my own. I just went to my managers or whoever it was and say, I want to get more training. How do I do this thing? And slowly, you just get to do more things. So I started getting my official training on Six Sigma when I was in the semiconductor industry. As I moved into the medical device industry and I was working more in the quality organization, then quality certifications became quite valuable. So I went into that. So I became a certified quality engineer, and then I went into a leadership, and then I became a certified quality manager because I was leading groups and I was leading people. And it was all natural, trying to see what the next step is. And eventually, I went into more training for Six Sigma. I did my master black belt with more steam.
Yeah.
And, the most recent certification is a different program. It's called Kepner-Trigo. And I got certified on teaching that program as well.
Right.
I'm trying to think what I'm going to study next. So for right now, I haven't decided. So since my wife went to school for her MBA program, I need to wait until she finishes, and then I can start something else.
Yeah.
But it's truly no, you don't finish, right? Then you need to grab a book and start reading the book and keep educating yourself.
Yeah. So that's something, I don't know, Wes, if you could type Kepner-Trigo into the chat, if anybody wanted to sort of Google that, do you know how to spell that?
I help you out with that.
Okay. Yeah.
I was like, yeah.
Yeah. So there's lots of different sort of problem solving sort of methodologies. And, when you've got the level of expertise and experience that somebody like Sebastian has, you're picking sort of which process, which tool matches really the best for the problem that you're trying to solve, right?
That's the whole concept of what we're trying to do. And that's what we're trying to do with the folks being trained in my facility, right? It's just, you need to understand what the right tool is for the right occasion. I don't care about doing the whole DMake approach unless it's needed, but you have to understand what to do, right? When to do the measurement system analysis, when to understand what the problem definition is. And it's very, very important. So that's why I'm so gung-ho with this system. And it really, it served me very well. Everything I go to approach, I take that process in mind, and it's been very helpful. I'll suggest you to really learn it. If you follow that approach, you guarantee success.
Yeah.
You guarantee success, and very few things can assure you that.
Right. So Sebastian, I don't want to monopolize the question asking here, so I'm going to encourage our students to raise their hand and come on and ask you a question. If you want to sort of pre-format your question and type it into the chat, that's fine too. We'll call on you to go ahead and read that question. So Sebastian, maybe you could sort of share some of your biggest lean success stories, or a lean failure or something that you learned a lot from, because in lean we kind of go in both directions there, right? So
so one of the biggest thing I have very, very early in my career, when I was in the semiconductor industry, was I was very, very new person there, right? And we had to qualify a particular tool. That equipment qualification took almost 2 days all the time, and once a week you need to shut it down for almost 2 days. And by simply mapping the process on how the tool was being qualified, it was relatively simple, it just took a long time. I was able to understand the waste that we typically talk about in here, right? And basically, you pull the data, you understand how is everything done. The simple solution was to make a pre-adjustment of the tool before you go into qualification, and that saved a day of testing. And that was one of the prime examples that I got as a very, very young engineer, so it's been a while, about how powerful this simple process is. It really it saved a ton of money. It cost nothing. It just took time to understand how the process was being built. So it was a fascinating thing for me, because it really showed me the power in this particular process. Right. The most funny part in the Lean Six Sigma thing that I went through, when I was working in SpaceX in an aerospace company, I'm being serious, okay? So don't laugh too much, maybe a little bit. So one of the parts we had to work was moving a particular piece of equipment. That particular piece of equipment was attached to a holding fixture. And by the way, this is a huge piece of equipment, okay? It's not a little one. And they take that through the fixture, because they need the fixture to move it around, to the other side of the factory, right? And then they get there and they take it out of the fixture to put it on their own fixture. So far, it sounds silly. Well, it was very silly, because that movement that took maybe a few hours had to wait maybe a couple hours, which was almost 50% of the time, because they didn't have straps to grab that part and put it on the winch. Now, this part, we're talking aerospace, right? This millions of dollars. Okay, this is not a simple thing. A ton of money. How much do straps cost?
Not much.
Not much, $500.
Yeah.
So what was the problem? They were looking for straps. So they go find the straps to another group. They take their straps, so then they cannot work, and they move the things, right? So $500, 2 hours saving time, peanuts. The next part of the thing was how the fixture was attached to that particular piece of equipment. So there was it's a pin. It was attached through a pin. It was a big pin. And how you take out the pin? You put one dude on one side, another dude on the other side. You get a big hammer. You get a big screwdriver, and you smash that thing until it comes out from the other side. In the meantime, you ruin the screw that was in the screw area that was inside, which they needed on the prior section. Now, the funny part as a Lean Six Sigma practitioner is that you're going to ask those folks, how will you make this better? Mm-hmm. Somebody's going to give you a clue. So I ask those folks, how you do this thing better? You know what? You need to use an horizontal hammer. I don't know what that is. Never in my life saw what that is. Well, I asked the guy, so what is that? Oh, let me show you. He had 3. So how do you do this thing? Well, you guys Google that on your site, what's an horizontal hammer. But, it's like a hammer, but it's horizontal. So you'll find that. So what can you use this? Oh, it doesn't fit in the screw. All right. So I went to talk to a tooling guy. I said, dude, I need to make this thing fit into the screw. How do I do that? Because I'm not a mechanical guy. I said, well, why is this thing for? Oh, it's for this group. Oh, that's my son. So why is your son, why did you talk to your son? I don't know. I mean, he didn't ask me. So he made a screw that he kind of attached to that particular horizontal hammer. And from that point, another 45-minute work that took 2 people took 10 minutes to do for 1 person. And they didn't break anything on the way. Yeah. It was absolutely ridiculous. And by the way, this guy makes so much fun of his son. It was even better that way. It was fantastic. But truly, the solutions don't have to be, humongous. It's not crazy. The solutions are sometimes blatant, and they're there. It's just people they get so into the weeds of what they're working, and they don't think ahead, or they don't open their mind, or they don't think outside the box, or they just do what they're told, right? And you guys as Lean practitioners, you can come up with that approach and ask them what they need. And the most people are going to tell you what will work for them. Now, granted, I could be wrong. And believe me, plenty of people have told me wrong things. But sometimes they're right. In this case, they were right. So it was quite a learning opportunity for something so silly. And it was extremely successful for peanuts. Yeah. Peanuts.
One of the things I like about, working with a Lean approach is you don't have to be the smartest person in the room. Mm-hmm. You just have to be the person in the room that, knows how to ask the right questions, right?
Absolutely.
And generally the answer is in that room somewhere or in that process. And people that are doing the work, they know a lot about how to fix this stuff, right? And it's kind of a very strong magical thing.
Yeah.
So, Callista, go ahead. Thank you for helping us out.
Hello, my name is Callista, but I just had a question, especially based on your last story. I feel like a lot of us, especially having worked part-time jobs or entry-level positions, we're kind of the lowest person. So we kind of have this assumption that the people at the top are putting a lot of thought into their process design and things like that. And it can be difficult to question processes, especially when you're so entry level. So have you ever had any experiences where you could identify issues with where a process was going wrong and the people who designed that process were defensive as far as like trying to find a solution?
If I say all the time, will you believe me? Most of the time, people are going to say, I made this thing, it's awesome. You know, that's what I'm telling you, that you're going to ask questions and people, you know, might give you the wrong answer. And many individuals think whatever they're doing is the best there is. So you guys as Lean practitioners are in a very difficult situation. You need to go talk to somebody who's been doing something for maybe a very long time. And like you're saying, you're a newbie, right? You show up and they, you know, if you go there to say, hey, I came here to fix your process, that's not going to work out well for you, right? You need to gain their confidence. They need to gain their trust by being professional, by being appropriate, and asking the right questions. So, you know, don't say, what are you doing wrong, right? You can ask them, I'll tell them what the issue is that you're trying to address, right? Oh, you know what, this is nothing to do with you, but it just happened that this is taking too long and we have other problems. So if you have any ideas of what can we do to make this faster, that'll be awesome. You know, yeah, I told them 10 years ago what to do. Oh, well, let's do it again. Maybe now they're going to listen to us. But it's really going to depend on you because they're not going to change, right? You need to keep that in mind. They are not going to take what you're saying. You have to gain their trust. So be professional and respectful, and keep in mind there could be many times wrong on their approach, because they're going to, these individuals who come with a lot of frustration from history, right? I've been telling them forever, even though they've been wrong, but nevertheless, they've been saying, you know, they always tell me yes, yes, and they don't do it all the time. And every new job that you're going to approach, you're going to have that because you're always a new. So when I came here, even though I came with plenty of experience, I still was a newbie, right? So I need to deal with folks who've been here for 15 years, and they know a lot more about the technology than I do. But I know a lot about how to make things better. Mm-hmm. And that's where I can have those conversations with them.
Yeah.
It's going to happen all the time.
Yeah. Thanks, Calista. That was a good entryway into a line of thought.
It's a great question, because people think they're going to go to a place and folks are going to be just there for you and help you out, and it's a very difficult thing to change people's minds.
You know, I've also found in that situation too, you know, trying to be empathetic to the person who's doing the work and ask them, well, you know, it's kind of, it's nice, but what don't you like about this job, right? Or what's hard about this job? And, you know, helping them find a solution might be a way to open a relationship or a conversation about, wow, that's good. We can make that better. What else can we make better, right? So. And
I would say on that aspect, you know, we always look at, you know, what's going to be the best thing to get this solved, right? Mm-hmm. And that's great as an end goal. But you have to get to the end goal, and for that you need to get their trust. So it's okay to get something that makes almost no impact to the end result if you gain their trust. So if they tell you, look, you know, I always ask you, you know, I'm always upset because there's no coffee here, right? It might sound silly, but if you manage to get them coffee or donuts or whatever it is, that will change their approach, and that's what you need. So it doesn't have to be just what they're being tasked to do. You need to find a way around it.
Okay.
And empathy, respect goes a long way.
It does. Let's see. So let's can we get one more question before we let Sebastian go here?
There was a question in here. If people get somebody was answering the text. Sorry.
Yeah. Well, it's good. It's okay to have that side conversation along these lines. So. Well, Sebastian, I'm gonna we get some ground to make up on some other topics, so I'm gonna have to let you go. But before I do, you know, my favorite ending question here. You know, we've got 56, you know, new to Lean people that are just starting out on their Lean journey. What piece of advice do you have to them that you can leave us with?
So. It's broken in a couple of places, right? If you follow the Lean Six Sigma way, you are practically guaranteeing success. So you have to keep that in mind. And it's not an easy thing to do, but if you follow the steps, you're really going to get what you're looking for. You're really going to achieve it. But it has to be with respect. You have to understand that you're working with other folks, and truly the project you're doing right now might not be the only one. So respect for those folks is super important. You want to be respected, you need to respect them. You don't need to overrun them, and they shouldn't overrun you or run you over. But respect goes a long way, and it's really, really important to be professional. So if you follow the steps which demand for you to be respectful, you will be successful.
Okay, Sebastian, good advice as always. Thank you so much for being our lead celebrity this quarter.